Oh. Huh. Huh. Something's off of me today. Eh. God. Okay. Holy smokes, I'm a mudkip. How did this happen? Oh jeez. Wait a second. Let me try some. Nice. So, Pokemon Mystery Dungeon DX stars you as, well, you being turned into a Pokemon of your choosing from a half-decent list of starters and fan favorites from the first 3 generations. Under normal circumstances, I probably would have picked Cyndaquil, but to add a little variety in my life and to also make this whole joke work, I decided to reincarnate as a Mudkip. You wake up not knowing what happened other than you're a Pokemon and you used to be human. Your secondary Pokemon that you pick finds you, and after a bit of conversation, a panicked Butterfree approaches you both, asking for your help to save its baby Caterpie, to which you promptly do. Sparked by the rush of helping a Pokemon in need, your partner Pokemon decides to start up a rescue team with you, allowing you to go out and explore and take on search and rescue missions, all the while trying to figure out about your past and to see if there's a way to turn back into being human. So it felt like the premise went by pretty quick, but to be fair, there are some interesting themes at play with the main story, mostly to do with the idea along the lines of, can someone be redeemed of their previous bad attitude even if that person can't remember or recollect what they were doing in the first place? It's an extremely shallow theme in this game's case, as it doesn't do too much with it, but it's better than most storylines that Pokemon deals with. As for how this game looks and sounds, well, both aren't groundbreaking. Music seems to be revamped versions of the original game's music, and if you like them, that's great. However, most tracks aren't anything crazy, and pretty much all of the dungeon tracks are short, feeling like they're looping within about 15 to 20 seconds. As for the look of the game, the aesthetic screams the design of the Winnie the Pooh worlds from Kingdom Hearts. Everything has this heavily shadowed water paint sort of design. I don't know how best to describe it. And even with the 3D models to an extent. In motion, it looks fine, but I've noticed during cutscenes on my large, bulbous Mudkip head, it almost looks like there's this dirty film layered on top of the rest of the screen, and it just looks really funky. Now onto gameplay. Please understand this. I had no sweet clue what I was getting into when trying this game out. I knew it was some sort of top-down strategy version of a typical Pokemon game, and that was pretty much it. Though I guess I wasn't too far off, but my disposition towards the game was not very good the instant I set foot in a dungeon, and my partner tells me that, oh yeah, it's random all the time. Oh no. Sure, I should have known better when I saw the title of Mystery Dungeon as in being unknown, but I want to reiterate from my Persona 4 review, randomly generated dungeons are the absolute worst way to develop your main dungeon system around. Even if that's just that's the whole concept, it's still dumb. In this game's case, its randomness doesn't really make sense, and while there can be some changes to very specific tiles, every area is essentially the same, just with a color swap and maybe a different type of terrain. As for how it actually plays, well, you move on a grid-based system trying to reach the set of stairs to take you deeper into dungeons, finding whatever target you're going after. You can find a variety of items ranging from healing or PP regenerative items or even special gear to cause status conditions when used on enemies or to influence other factors. Inevitably, you'll encounter an enemy Pokemon to which you gotta get in range and position to strike it, depending on the move you got. Some attacks only hit one tile ahead, some two, as well as a variety of other factors based on each attack. The more you use one attack, it will eventually enhance itself, garnering better potency or improved PP. If you're big into Fire Emblem like I am, don't be fooled by a diagonal position like this. That's not two spaces away, it's still one. Took me a while to figure that out. Attacks vary based on their typing, and you usually should use type advantage, as you remember, but I've noticed a bit of an overpowered nature with 4-tile moves, as well as multi-hitting attacks like Fury Attack, something I would have never used in a regular Pokemon game. Part of that comes with a special ability Pokemon can get alongside with their normal ones you're used to. Get something like Steamroller, and typing awareness is a thing of the past. But back to Fury Attacks and such, they do have low accuracy, but the damage output seems to continuously be high, so I found myself losing lives in early levels when I would end up fighting Doduos that have Fury Attack and would just end my life immediately, even at the later parts of the game when I figured I would have better defense. It doesn't really seem to matter a whole lot. As you explore, you can eventually recruit Pokemon by either assisting them in their time of need or by defeating them in battle. You can only bring in a group of 3 into a dungeon, but you can recruit mid-adventure an extra 5 to 6 Pokemon. It's actually kind of funny to see this large convoy traveling around. Problem is that while you can recruit a large assortment of Pokemon, mixing and matching as you please, the game runs into a Xenoblade Chronicles X problem of having specific characters be basically near permanent, having it be that you really shouldn't do any exploring without your main character and at least your partner, as they are locked in mandatory characters for the main missions you partake in. In between missions, you can stop in town to collect and manage your items, train at the dojo with Makuhita, link multiple attacks with Gulpin, store money with Persian, or buy camps with Wigglytuff. Camps are important since you need specific camps in order to recruit certain Pokemon you find in dungeons for later. That being said, this game's weird in its pacing, as in no time at all, you encounter an intermission sequence where you lose access to the towns for a bit, or the ability to recruit Pokemon for a number of dungeons, meaning that if you weren't working with your main 2, like I said earlier, then you would be in trouble. And that aside, since it's only the 2 of you, it's a lot harder to send Pokemon out separate to help cover more ground on a dungeon, and these ones are long. Ugh. And the bosses are less entertaining without a convoy, since bosses tend to bully up on one Pokemon easier. Not harder, mind you, as long as you come prepared with appropriate amounts of healing items. You finish with that, and then, bam, you're at endgame. It kind of felt like Whiplash a little bit. I think the best way to describe it is that I could tell this used to be a GBA game. Between the overall unimpressive music, basic gameplay, and a story that doesn't really take full advantage of its premise, that it almost seems like it didn't realize it made the premise, it kind of makes me think that this could have been a game I could picture seeing in a Walmart bargain bin or something. Not a game that really deserves a full price. There is more after the main story, as it somewhat tries to model itself similar to something like MMOs or like Monster Hunter, having more dungeons and letting you go back to previous areas to recruit more Pokemon. But I really didn't feel like going back after finishing the main story. I was actually pretty surprised it took me 18 hours to beat it, because it felt a lot shorter than that. But I think most of that was just trying to get from floor to floor in some dungeons. That was why it took me so long to get through. Monotony and tedium. That's about 80% of the game. The rest being stuff that actually felt significant. It certainly doesn't deserve the full price tag. Persona 4 suffered a lot of the same problems, but at least in Persona, you could do stuff outside of dungeons to help both improve your character and the overall story. But here, not so much. I am happy I had the chance to play this, get more Pokemon in my life, but it certainly doesn't entice me to go back and play it again or to play any other one in the series. The best advice that I saw, and I apologize, I don't have the link, but someone recognized it and direct me to it, I'll put it up. But anyway, I saw someone big post, and it said something like this: if you've never played Mystery Dungeon before, pick it up. If you played it but don't have the original game, pick it up. Otherwise, don't bother. But anywho, thank you all so much for watching. If you like what you saw, you can click right up there to check out some of my other videos that I've done. Or if you really feel like it, you can click right up there to subscribe. And until next time, guys, I'll see you all later. Mama keep, 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 yeah.